Sports, comedy, pop culture, and everything in between. By idiots, for idiots. Welcome, sinners. This is Sports Idiot Nation.
Welcome into Sports Idiot Nation, your weekly recap show that comes to you not once, but twice a week, every Monday and Thursday. Today is Thursday, February 20th, and we have another guest as T.I. is with me. T.I., why don't you tell me a little bit about who this guy is? I know we have a lot to get into.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. So Edward is a buddy of mine. We share a lot of common interests with a lot of things. And as well, Adam, as you find out, probably a lot of common interests with you. But how Edward and I met, we met back really kind of during the infancy stages of the pandemic, without going into super detail. We crossed a lot of the same circles when it comes to retro gaming. And I had seen a post where he was working on a documentary and was working with a lot of folks of people who I follow on YouTube and people who I follow on Instagram and social media. And I just on a whim randomly reached out and was just like, hey, I'm a graphic designer, very passionate about a lot of the same things you are. Don't feel obliged, but I'd love to offer my services to help out however I can. And he hit me back with some ideas about what he envisioned for his graphics for the poster and for promotionals. And, I hit him back with some ideas. And, from that point on, we just established a good friendship and found out we had a lot in common when it came to retro video games, sports. Edward's a huge Dallas Cowboys NFL fan, huge Turtles fan. So it's just like, you know how it is.
Just
Adam.
fits.
I mean, yeah, it just fits. And so naturally, I knew I wanted to get him on as a guest whenever we could. But Edward he's a lot more interesting than what I have to say about him. But I'll let him speak for that. But yeah, that's how we came to be. For our love of retro video games, really, is how we got introduced. And he was gracious enough to include me as a assistant in some of his graphic design and promotion and promotional materials. And I'm forever indebted to him. I am on IMDb because of him. So, without further ado, Mr. Edward Payson, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, my friend.
Thank you, sir. Well, I'm glad that you mentioned Instagram because that's kind of been like the key to all of this that I'm going to talk about and we're going to talk about today, because I wouldn't have made any of the films that I'm going to talk about, if it wasn't for Instagram. Because I think my love of retro games kind of was, re-sparked because of Instagram several years ago, probably around like 2012, 2013, when I finally caved and made an Instagram account. The algorithm kind of like took hold of me and I started seeing, all these pictures. Like I thought it was just pictures of like people, doing duck lips and, taking ass pics and stuff. And lo and behold, I see people taking pictures of old Ninja Turtles and, some Sega Genesis games and Nintendo games and stuff. And I was like, wait, this is what people can take pictures of on Instagram? And right away...
Like, wait a second. People like this stuff? Yeah. I thought it was just me.
Yeah, and I totally started, going and getting all these games from my past. And at first, I didn't really have any rhyme or reason to it. I just kind of started thinking about all the games that I used to play. So I didn't have a focus as to like what system I was getting them for. So I would get like Nintendo games, I would get Sega games. I didn't care what they looked like. I didn't care what condition they were in. And then I kind of like went and focused on, okay, well now I want to get every Sega Genesis game ever made. And then it kind of went from there. I went to my mom's house and I was looking for something completely different. She sent me to get something from the upstairs of the barn, which would be like her attic. And while in there, I found a lot of my old Ninja Turtles. And from there, like the plan was like I was going to sell these, but then all of a sudden I was like, oh no, I'm not going to sell these. Like this is now going to turn into this giant Ninja Turtles collection. And then the pandemic hit, like you said, and now we have these people, and I don't know how it was for you guys, where you live, the Midwest and stuff, but like Los Angeles completely shut down during the pandemic. Like even like places to get food and stuff became like so scarce that like you were just like sitting around like twiddling your thumbs, and there was really nothing to do. So me and my producer Adam and my other producer Andrew came up with these ideas. We were like, let's make some documentaries. And at first, it was like a really small idea. The idea was, let's get like 4 1-hour interviews and see if we can cobble them together into a 1-hour documentary with the stuff that we had. And slowly but surely, that became a lot bigger, because once you interviewed these people, first you had to like find the people that were, one, willing to let us go to their house during this pandemic, which everybody said was literally the end of the world.
Yeah.
But like, these people let us go to their house, and then after, they were so like just enthused and happy to be a part of it, and they told their friends, and their friends wanted to be part of it. And in some cases, it was kind of like, maybe this person was like I don't want to say lower level YouTuber, but that's kind of like the sense of like, maybe it was like a lower level YouTuber with like smaller, a smaller audience, but then they like had a friend who was like a bigger level YouTuber, and then it kind of grew from like 4 people to 15 people, then 15 people to 19 people.
Yeah.
And then became
that's how Rarity came to existence. So like, it started off as just an idea, and then it spawned into where these people knew these people, and before you know it, you've got the who's who of everyone from retro video game, from angry video game nerd to there's Pixel Game Squad, or just whoever. So that's kind of where we came into connection, where I was just like, a lot of the people I was following, I was like seeing a lot of like counter activity between you and I would see us on a lot of the same threads and everything. And that's why I was like, well, what does Michael Scott in Office say? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Him and Wayne Gretzky, right?
And the other thing that people didn't realize is like, we also had like no money whatsoever. And the way that the pandemic kind of lent to that is like, if you weren't afraid to die, like we weren't, travel was extremely, extremely cheap. So like, we were getting like round trip tickets to like Florida for like $55, and round trip tickets to Chicago to interview people for like $50. So we were able to go and do these like round trip, flights in like hotels for like next to nothing, to go interview some people that we weren't able to, that basically weren't these YouTubers, but had like these crazy collections, and get the shot out of the day.
Just the collections in the documentary are just ridiculous. I mean, from like Robin stuff to all the Nintendo Power stuff, just even the clay, like literally. Adam, I know you haven't seen the doc, and you definitely need to see it post this interview, but even a lot of the clay, like things that you see on the covers of Nintendo Power, like Edward has them featured in his documentary and stuff. So there are so many holy grails of retro video game hunting that are just in this one, just the first documentary, and here you are working on the second one.
Yeah.
So it's so cool. Now we are notorious for getting off track. So before we do get off track of anything, Edward, tell everyone where you recommend them watching Rarity. I know it's available on many different outlets. I see it recommended to me a lot, which just makes me feel good. I'll be watching something, and on the bottom it's like, these other viewers watch this, and I'm like, holy cow, there's Rarity right there. It makes me feel real good. But where do you recommend folks watching it?
So right now, technically, I guess it's on like 18 different networks, but the ones you've probably heard of, it's on Amazon Prime, it's on Tubi, it's actually on YouTube. It's actually for free on YouTube. It's on YouTube's own free with ads channel. So basically, you can watch it for free on YouTube with ads. I think it's on Freevee as well if you have Freevee. But yeah, all the major places that you would watch anything besides like Netflix, you can watch it for free or for free with ads.
Yeah, no, it's great. I enjoyed it. I love being able to be a part of it. I get giddy every time I see my name in the credits, and I get excited when I see my X-Men game pop up with the rental label on it too, in there, and I'm like, hey, yeah, that's my baby right there, But we know you, or I know you, and Adam knows you now as a pretty successful film director. But I know you got your start doing commercials. So I know you've done. Last time I checked, probably like 8 million commercials. I know you had a ticker one time where you were keeping tabs of how many you've done. How many have you done now?
So funny enough, this past quarter, it was good enough for me with just movies that I don't necessarily have to do commercials anymore for the first time ever.
Nice.
So that was
That's
like 3
great.
months ago.
Good for
Yeah,
you.
like the residuals were good enough to where it makes sense just to work on movies full time now. And I'm very lucky because a lot of people don't get that, and it was very surprising that happened. Rarity just passed the first Rarity after 3 years, just passed 25 million views from all the different networks and stuff like that, which we're very, very surprised to see.
Dude,
But
25 million
25 million
views,
views,
dude.
yeah.
How does that make you feel? How does that make you feel for
Very
real?
surprised, to be completely honest, because the bulk of that was this year, which is like 3 years after we released it, which is crazy. Which makes me think
Dude,
like someone might have had to like mention it
dude,
somewhere or like.
I think so. Like I said, I've been seeing it recommended to me a lot in the last year. And that is only a testament to a lot of like-minded individuals hitting the algorithm, of course, but like you're right, there has to have been some folks somewhere that have made some suggestions. So I mean, that's awesome, dude. 25 million views.
Yeah.
Woo, dude.
And so that's a cool thing. And then so commercial wise, I think the last number we left off at was like 366 commercials. Yeah.
I can't imagine shooting one commercial, much less 366. Because I mean,
No
you have to have some good experiences and some really terrible experiences.
Yeah, there was a time when it was so many commercials a month that I was like turning down. Before the pandemic, this was. So after the pandemic, things changed a lot. I had to really change what my business was because, making commercials is kind of like a parasite business, to be completely honest, because your whole business kind of relies on how well other businesses are. Businesses aren't going to pay for a commercial if they can't pay to keep their lights on in their business. So, when businesses were doing bad, they're not going to pay for commercials. But like before the pandemic, yeah, like I was doing like 7 commercials a month, having to turn down different people like that, either were like taking forever to, make a down payment or, whatever. But yeah, I've had some pretty crazy commercials I've had to do. Like I would say like in the beginning, like 98% of the products I would do commercials for didn't work the way they were supposed to work. Like we'd have people who like make these like crazy claims. Like I had some headphones at one point that's from Britain that said that they were the best wireless headphones. They basically were trying to compete with like earbuds, the Apple earbuds, saying that they're the best ones for all kinds of sports. And what they wanted me to do was have someone that was like a parkour person jump all over the place and do flips off of things. After the first flip, they flew out of the person's ears, smashed on the pavement, and broke apart on one ear. So the whole rest of the commercial, we had to shoot from one side and then flip it and post the whole rest of the commercial. So
they didn't even have a backup pair of
no.
earbuds. Yeah, that's hilarious. That sounds about right.
Another one.
That's funny.
Towards the end of my commercial run, actually, another one. They gave me like a 16-prong outlet that we were supposed to be able to put in the wall and then spin it to like the way you need it. It's supposed to be like to plug in like a computer and then whatever was supposed to go in with the computer. Plugged it in the wall, immediately just set fire. Yeah. Nothing plugged into it, just immediately set fire.
That sounds about right. All right, guys, here we go. All right, first take, and we're on fire.
Yeah, but
we're on fire.
the worst things I would say is like, people are like, oh, how, like, not even just commercial wise, but like just the things you see, like people are like, oh, how could this happen? You know, these are the worst things you'd ever see. Like, how could this happen when you look at like what happened with like the film set with like Alec Baldwin and stuff? Like, you see stuff like that could have been a gun on so many different sets you've been on, especially like non-union sets. Like, I've seen like real brass knucks used on set and actually make contact on people's faces. Like, so many things like yeah, like stuff like that happen all the time. I've had this crazy lady, like, for one, like, not for a commercial, but she hired me off of Facebook, and being someone like, you know, not established yet or anything like that, like I needed the money. She hired me off of Facebook saying that someone recommended her, and it was just a mutual friend. I found out later she never talked to that person. It was just because we were mutual friends. And she saw that my profile said that I was a director. So this lady hires me to make a short film for her. I basically am hired just to be the director, right? I set up everything, cast it for her because she doesn't know the actors and stuff. She's like, oh, who would be good for this role, whatever. Get all the crew, and then basically the shoot's supposed to be 3 days away, and she's like, oh, I can't handle this, like, I'm stressing out. How much more would it cost me for you to be the producer as well? And basically, like, all the other roles and all the other scheduling and all that kind of stuff, handle that as well. I give her a price. We handle like everything with the scheduling and with the contracts and stuff. She signs it. Everything's fine. We shoot it. I edit it. Give it to her. She says she's completely satisfied with it. She says it's great. I love it. I cry. You know, there's the parts where they're supposed to be funny are funny. The parts where it's supposed to be sad are sad. I love it. 2 days later, I get an email at like 3 a.m. that's very, very strange. That's supposed to be to her lawyer, but she accidentally sends it to me, and it says, "Don't worry. I'm going to send one more email to Edward before I ask for my money back that he owes me." So I calmly message her back and I say, oh, I think you meant to send this to somebody else, but do I owe you some kind of money? I don't understand. I thought you were happy with the project. Like, what is this all about? And she just responds with, you know damn well. And I respond with, excuse me? Like, what's going on? I don't understand. And she responds with, in the olden days, I just send people to your house in the middle of the night that shoot first and ask questions last, and then sends me 2 YouTube links to clearly actors of Hollywood actors pretending to be gangsters, and them like with like guns, like pretending to be gangsters, which is clearly like now like some kind of weird threat. And I go to the police, and I'm just like, on my
YouTube threat.
Yeah. My wife tells me to go to the police with it, and even the police are like laughing, like, what is she doing here? Long story short, ends up taking me to People's Court.
Like Judge Wapner, People's Court.
Not Wapner. I forget it was like Maria something.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Oh, the blonde.
Yeah. And I don't even realize that this is all the way in Connecticut.
She's hot.
I have to fly all the way to Connecticut from Los Angeles.
Holy cow.
Yeah. It lasts 5 minutes. Because the judge just keeps going. I bring all the contracts. I bring the thing. The judge just keeps going, why are we here? He has the contract. She says, oh, well, he shared it with his social media followers. I show her a screenshot of where I ask if I can share it on social media, and she says yes. She goes, oh, there's that.
Ridiculous.
No more questions, Your Honor.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Your Honor.
She says, I'm not happy with the edit. I show her the email where it says, I'm very happy with the edit. Like, It was just the craziest thing. And then I got $200 for winning on People's Court, and it was just this crazy thing. And of course, like I'm not someone who's ever like got into trouble as a kid or did anything wrong. So the whole time I just feel like my heart exploding. Like this is TV. Like what if they just like totally go off the deep end and they want to get like entertainment value and they make me feel like I did something wrong and
Oh man,
Dude,
they've got
that's the best story
the,
ever.
yeah, got the music playing. Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah, and
dun,
at the beginning,
dun. The defendant, Edward Payson. He's a film director from California.
Well, dude,
Who has
that's
no
the
idea why
thing
he's
too.
here.
I totally thought it was going to go a different way because at the beginning they made it seem like when they say like at the beginning like what you were just saying, they made me say something I never said. They're like, he said that she's a crazy person who like it's like which I never said. That just made me seem like an asshole. Yeah. He said she's a crazy person who just didn't take her pills that day and blah, blah, blah. Like, I never said that.
You're like, whoa.
He said her and her 79 cats can take it elsewhere.
Yeah.
Dude, that is an amazing story.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll forget that story anytime soon. I want to hear another story, Edward, because we talked right before the show that I live in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So you got to tell me what's going on because I will tell you, the main street that I live closest to is called State Street. And 7 minutes west on State Street is the location that you know of.
Yeah.
And so I've been there. I've met the owner. So I want to hear this story.
Yeah. So we had alluded to earlier that we're working on part 2 of Rarity, and Rarity 2 is going to be just so much bigger than part 1. Part 1 we had 19 interviews. This one we're going to have over 60 interviewees. And right now it's sitting at like 3 hours. It's probably going to be less than that. I have to cut it down a little bit. But what you're talking about is we have one interviewee in it. His name is John, and he's part of a segment in the documentary called I Heart Pizza. His business is also called I Heart Pizza. And what it is a pizza place that makes and rescues Sega Genesis games. And what does that mean? Well, John is a stage 3 cancer survivor, and he made a promise to himself while he was battling cancer that if he survives, he will pursue his dream of opening a pizza place that rescues and makes Sega Genesis games. So for the past 16 years, he's had this company, I Heart Pizza, that's been making brand new Sega Genesis games that he's made from scratch. And then they've also been taking Sega Genesis games that have came out in other regions that never made it to the United States and translating them and kind of getting them beefed up for an American crowd to release for the first time. So I think as of now, they have like 36 games that they're going to release on open at this pizza place where you're going to be able to sit down. You're going to be able to order your food by playing a Genesis game, like order your food, playing the Genesis game. They're then going to take the game away, bring it back to you as a download, or use an app where you can bring the game home with you, like with you and your family, like in the game now.
That's awesome.
And that's like a possibility. And then have a bunch of other like in-store games that you can play only in store. And then the whole restaurant
That he's
be
created.
kind of like,
and I've played one.
oh yeah.
So he has a Facebook page, and I hit him up because I used to run a Fort Wayne podcast with people, in and around Fort Wayne, the movers and shakers basically of Fort Wayne. And so I came across him, and me and my buddy went there to his place, and he showed us one of the games he created. I played it for a while, and he kind of showed us around the building and the space that he has. And this was explained everything that Edward just explained, literally explained to me as well. And so just before this recording, we're just chatting, and I'm telling Edward, I live in Indiana in the northeast corner, and he's like, "Oh, how close to Fort Wayne?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm in Fort Wayne." And then he mentions, I'm like, "Oh man, we got to talk about this because I've met John, and man, just a ball of energy, and that promise that he made, that's pretty cool to be able to try and fulfill this." And so now, you talk about a small world. Like, I had no idea that we would be talking about this. So that is pretty amazing. And speaking of amazing, I know that I see over your shoulder, it looks like some awards, and it looks like there's 3 of them. I don't know if they're all the same. What's the story on those, dude?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
so
they look to
those
be different colors to me.
so those are
Look to be
Telly
different colors.
Awards. So basically, what those are, they're like, I want to say they're like Emmys, but they're basically for like internet content, stuff that only like went streaming and stuff like that. And I like to say that they're um, my best form of like progression, like that I can actually see progression in my filmmaking career, because they are one of every 3 years, 2020 through 2022, and they're in that order, bronze through gold. One is for my documentary Our Friend John, which came out in 2020. One is for a short documentary called Hyena that I made in 2021, and 2022 was for the first Rarity movie, which is gold. And it's just cool to have them in that order, because it could have been like messed up and have the first one be gold, and then you'd be like, oh, well, now I don't have to make the 2 more. But because I, got bronze the first one, you want to make the next 2. So just makes you feel good because you see that progression, and not a lot of people don't get to see that.
Yeah, dude. I know for a fact that you have won a lot of awards, and I know that you are a very humble person as well. So you're not going to just throw that out there. But if you don't mind, for our viewers, just panning your camera over to the side there, just so they can just think I'm not just blabbing here. But let's take a look at all these awards. See all those
Yeah,
awards,
it goes
folks?
further, but yeah.
This is a man that knows what he's doing. Not only a man of the people, but has his finger on the pulse of what people want, and those awards are proof.
So let me ask you, with those awards, Edward, what is one thing that you would say you've learned from winning dozens and dozens of awards of this nature?
Awards don't pay bills most of the time. Yeah. Yeah, this is my Drake speech. What Drake said to Kendrick before everyone's like, "Oh, Kendrick has all these trophies. He killed Drake." When Drake said the year before, like, that trophies don't matter. Yeah, like, it's all based on people's taste, man. And you could get a completely different
True.
group of people the following year. So it doesn't really matter. Like, they're cool, and sometimes, having those on a resume will get you a job or get you seen by people, but at the end of the day, the way I see, like, success is like, am I making a living doing this? Can I make a living doing this? Did I get paid for this last job?
Sure.
Because that's how I can justify it to my family. I can't justify filmmaking to my family if I'm not making money doing it.
Passion isn't going to put food in your daughter's mouth. So, yeah, for sure.
No, for sure. That is so cool. We're definitely going to have the links on where to find you and some of your cool stuff here in the link. So make sure you click. Make sure you obviously follow Sports Edit Nation wherever you get your social media. Tell us now a little bit more about yourself as far as what you have going now. Like this, it's crazy to think all this was in the past. But like,
tell us about where Anti-Hero Productions is headed.
Yeah, we're still just go from full steam ahead with Rarity 2. My favorite part of the editing process is dropping B-roll, because I feel like that's the best part of the puzzle. You when you're editing, you're like, did I make this really boring project? Because you just see like an hour of just like someone talking, and you're like, people are going to hate this. But then you start putting everything together and making all the cuts of like this awesome B-roll, and you start talking to those people again and like, hey, do you have some amazing footage of you as a kid and talking about these different things in this time period? And then that all gets put together and you're able to make this amazing thing come to life. And that's the process where I'm at right now. Actually, just yesterday, the reason I say like, do you have some amazing footage of you as a kid is because specifically I was given in the same day, by coincidence, 2 different people gave me footage from the Nintendo World Championships and for the Disney Play Tour that has never been seen before. They
That's
both
so cool.
gave me it separately in the same day to be used in the documentary, and neither has ever been seen before. And it's actually very, very cool for the Disney Play Tour because the only thing that exists online for the Disney Play Tour right now is just like some 1 minute of footage of like.
Was a Disney Play
Yeah,
Tour like
yeah,
the
and it was a huge
DuckTales
tournament
and like
because
Rescue Rangers,
Mhm.
like Mickey Mouse
that was a
Capade,
30,
like tournament
30
thing? Yeah, okay.
city tournament that took place at malls across America, and then the finals took place at Disneyland. The only thing that exists online is Robin Mihara being crowned as the champion and it being on the news. And yeah, I got an hour and a half of footage
Man.
of directly from Robin of
Yeah,
no.
I was gonna say Robin's in the first documentary, right? No. So he's not.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's okay. Awesome. Even better. That's amazing.
Man,
Yeah, dude. So,
I
so
think
I know you have a love for retro video games. You have a love for action figures, Power Rangers, Ninja Turtles. A lot of DC comics. But I'm curious to what made you draw the line, and not that you necessarily drew a line, but what made you decide I'm a Sonic? I'm a Sega guy versus Nintendo, because I know you are very passionate about all the obscurities with Sega. I know you're collecting a Sega Genesis full console collection as we speak. I'm not sure where your count's at yet, but I know you've got to be getting close to the end. But yeah, so like, what made you decide like, okay, I'm all for what Nintendo?
So like
back in the
my
day.
glory years were in my best memories were with the Genesis. I did have a Nintendo growing up, but it was like when I was like really, really young. But like second grade through like I want to say like fifth grade was all Nintendo or was all Genesis. So and all the biggest memories with like
Yeah.
family and friends and stuff were all the ones I remember with the Genesis. So, and then all the rest of them were like PlayStation from then on. So,
Yeah.
So the nostalgia, when you think of it, based on your age,
Yeah.
you're thinking of
Mhm.
Genesis. Yeah, that makes sense. Man, I feel like Ti, we're gonna just have to have a whole other like segment again dedicated where Edward comes back and we just keep going because it doesn't. I mean,
Oh, dude, he's a plethora of stories and knowledge. Like, we didn't even touch
you
base on
can.
his
I mean,
love
I
for
have
horror
time
movies and his.
if you want to go. I don't have like a set whatever.
Yeah,
well, we need like a
you need that SpongeBob meme. 12 hours later, Yeah. But no, I think we need to have Edward back. I think we need to have Jeff from the NES page back at the same time.
that is what I was thinking.
Yeah, I think we need to have your buddy. Adam's buddy runs the Toy Pit up in Indiana, which is like a huge, toy store. Old action figures, everything, you name it. And it's like we're talking about getting him on an episode. Like, that's the thing. Like, I think it's just fun to get all these like-minded individuals together that, are all within like 5 to 6 years of age range and have all the same backgrounds and just shoot the breeze,
Right.
man. So definitely. And of course I want to have Edward on closer to when Rarity 2 releases as well, so we can talk about it, because like I said, I love the first one. Obviously the first one is just wetting the whistle for what your ambitions are for the second one. I mean, Adam, you yourself need to watch it. As Edward said, you can find it on any streaming service pretty much.
Yeah.
Outside
You
of
guys are horror
Netflix.
fans too?
And yeah, man, I am. I can't recall if Adam is as much. I think Adam said he's kind of on the fence with horror movies. I
they're
do
scary.
love horror movies.
They scare me.
Yeah, Adam's a fraidy cat. Adam's a fraidy cat, but we can grow him. We can church him up.
Can
a
I
little bit.
100% appreciate it? Yes. I mean, totally. But yeah, and
Edward,
I'm down to talk through
Edward
it.
Edward is on the other side of it. He is obsessed with it, and but on an intelligent level of it, where he digests it, like breaks it down. Like sometimes I think Edward needs his own Rotten Tomatoes.
I watch
site.
too many movies, so like I can't even enjoy most movies that people love anymore.
Yeah.
Well,
The new Captain America. I'm
That's a
like,
gift and a curse.
if this Red Hulk gets his hands on Sam once, he should be dead. So if that happens, I can't enjoy this movie.
Yeah, I'm scared to watch it. My favorite Marvel movie of all of them is Winter Soldier. Just something about it. I love it. It's got that 80s espionage to it. It's tangible. I just really enjoy it. A friend of mine that did see the new one said that he thinks I would like it just based on that, but I'm so worried to watch it because I'm like, oh man, I think it's the beginning of the end for a lot of the MCU stuff,
Yeah, but we can have another MCU show too.
Yeah,
we need a lot of shows that we'll need to have Edward back for.
Yeah, really. We can have Edward. We can do an MCSU. We can do a MCU, DCU, DEU debate. Because
FU.
Yeah, FU. Because I know Edward is he's a big Snyder Cut fan. I know that, so we could probably dive into some. We could probably do a whole episode on that.
Well, yep, Snyder Cut. Yeah. So
whenever,
Edward, you down to hang with us again then? All right, yeah. We're with you to the end of the line, and we will see you Monday.
Okay, all you sinners, follow Sports Idiot Nation on TikTok, X, and Instagram. Like us on Facebook, and remember, the most fun way to watch us is on YouTube every Monday and Thursday. Be sure to hit the notification bell so you can be updated when new content drops. Remember, the podcast can also be found on the usual suspects of Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Always remember, don't be an idiot.
Sinner.